Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back, and today I am going to be doing another what I watched in the last month. I did it for the first time at the beginning of February, and I absolutely loved doing it. It was so much fun breaking down all the movies and TV shows that I watched. So thought I would continue with that. So before I get started, I wanted to say that this video is brought to you by the producers on my Patreon. That is anybody on the $20 tier or $25 tier if you were on there before the 2021 year started, and their names are listed below. And if you would like to support me, support the channel, you can check out the link in the description, or there's a card up there, I believe, and become a patron on any tier. You can get so many fun things. Usually I do this on my haul videos, but I forgot to do it last month, so it's going to be on this one today. And let's get started. So let's go to the diary page and scroll down to the end of February. If you want to follow along, you can check out my Letterboxd. It is basically the same as all of my other social media, but you can also find it linked in the description. And I will say, I think I watched a lot more TV this month because I just wanted to watch some comfort shows. So there probably won't be as many movies as I watched in January. Plus, February is a little bit shorter of a month. But there are a couple days where that's all I did was watch movies. So like on the first day that I actually started watching movies I watched John Lewis, Good Trouble, which is a really great documentary about John Lewis, and it's just so beautiful. I loved it. An American Pickle, which I wasn't like super excited about. I just wanted to watch it because I wanted to watch a new movie. I haven't really watched a new movie, and I had heard that it was good, but I'm not like the biggest Seth Rogen fan. But yeah, it left a lot to be desired for me. Unpregnant, which is another new, both American Pickle and Unpregnant are HBO Max original movies, and I really, really loved Unpregnant. It was surprising to me. And who is the actress in it? Haley Lou Richardson was really, really great. The relationship between her and Barbie Ferreira, am I saying that right? Probably not. It's so good. Like, it feels real and genuine, and I liked it a lot. And then I watched Enola Holmes, which is Millie Bobby Brown being Sherlock and Mycroft Holmes' sister. I did not like it. I was bored throughout a lot of it. And then I also watched more than I thought. The Little Things, which is the Warner HBO movie, did not like it. If you want to see my reviews on any of these, I write reviews a lot for most anything I post, so if you want to see my full thoughts, I would definitely check out my Letterboxd because it's all listed in, or it's all like in there where I write funny or stupid things that are funny to me. But yeah, I wrote kind of a little thing about what I felt about The Little Things, which was, I did not like it, but it stars Denzel Washington, Jared Leto, and Rami Malek, and I was so excited for it. I think that's what really was the reason why I did not like it that much. And then I also watched Alive, hashtag Alive, which is a South Korean horror film. Kind of, I think it's about zombies. They don't necessarily say zombies in the movie, but I love a good zombie movie, and I do love a good South Korean film. So that one was really great and really fun. And then I watched a documentary called Spaceship Earth about this group of people who are kind of a commune, and then they build this self-containing biodome, and it's really interesting, and it gave me culty vibes, and as you'll see coming up, I love cult movies and documentaries and stuff, so that one was a fun one to watch for me. Whoops. And then on the 3rd, I watched this docu-series on Epix called Helter Skelter, an American Myth, which is all about Charles Manson and the Manson family, and it's super interesting, especially if you are into culty stuff or just, American history or weird things, cult leaders. I found it extremely intriguing, and because I watched Helter Skelter, the next day, I saw that there was this documentary called Laurel Canyon suggested to me on the Epix app that was suggested to me because I had watched this film, or this docuseries, and it's kind of a mini series. I think there's only 2 or 3 episodes, but it's all about the music scene within the 60s and 70s, like folky rock music, and something I've really been getting into lately, and I really, really enjoyed watching that. And then after that, I am a huge pop punk fan, so I wanted to kind of see the roots of my favorite music. So I watched this 4-part docuseries called Punk. It's produced by Iggy Pop, and he does some interviews in it as well, and it's like a really great look at the different areas or the different genres within punk and the way it grew. And if you're into punk music or like just rock music in general, it's a really great look at the scene and how it grew. And then because I watched that, I watched the first of, what's her name? I'm just blanking on all of these people's names. Penelope Spheris. The first of her 3-part docuseries, The Decline of Western Civilization. It's really interesting because it looks a lot at kind of what happens in the first 2 episodes-ish of the punk docuseries, and mostly the first episode of how kind of the birth of punk and the lifestyle that people live in it. I find it extremely fascinating. I love documentaries and stuff like that. And then the next day, I just watched Space Sweepers, which is a South Korean sci-fi film. It's on Netflix, and it blew my mind. I had so much fun with it. I was not expecting anything great from it because it's a Netflix film, and a lot of the time Netflix films are kind of lackluster to me, except for their cult and true crime documentaries and docuseries. They do really great jobs on those. But this, I think, was a wow, it's way too early for me to be recording this. But I think it was an acquisition film from Netflix, so it was produced by an outside company, which is why I think it was really great. And then I watched Malcolm and Marie, which is the new Netflix film starring Zendaya and John David Washington, and it is fantastic. It was filmed entirely during quarantine, edited, and all of that stuff, and I really enjoyed it. I loved the story, and it felt like a real relationship between Malcolm and Marie, and kind of how a real relationship in real life would work. And it felt very like marriage story mixed with the Before trilogy, and I think stories from a marriage. Or I think that's a film that, yeah, I think that's the film I'm thinking of. That's what it's called. But yeah, I haven't seen it, but I heard that it's kind of in that same area, which I think Netflix or Hulu, some streaming service is doing a reboot or doing a series on that with like Oscar Isaac. And then after that, I watched King Kong for the 1001 bonus review that's going up on my Patreon. I think today it already went up on my Patreon. Today, the date this video goes live, tomorrow for my patrons. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, it's a classic Universal monster movie, and I can never say no to that. And then for the podcast, my podcast, The Nostalgia Effect, I watched The Sound of Music because I love The Sound of Music, and one of my co-hosts hadn't seen it, so we watched The Sound of Music. And then, I've said and then a lot in this. On the next day, I watched Framing Britney Spears, which is the New York Times documentary about Britney Spears, and a really great look at like what Britney went through in the 90s and early 2000s. And then after that, I watched Get Shorty because the internet went out, so I had the DVD just, laying around. I got it from work, so I watched that. It's John Travolta and Danny DeVito and a couple other people. It's really funny. It's definitely an 80s, 90s movie, but it's pretty funny. I enjoyed myself while watching it. After that, I watched The Nice Guys, which is Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, and it's a Shane Black film. And I thought for the first probably, 95% of the movie that it was the first Shane Black movie I had seen that did not have anything to do with Christmas in it. But no, there's like 5 minutes of Christmas at the very end of the film. Then on the 12th is another big block where I watched a lot of movies. I think it was a Saturday, so I literally had nothing else to do. So I watched Willy's Wonderland, which was a review I did a couple weeks ago, starring Nick Cage. And if you want to hear my thoughts on that, I would go watch that review. Then after that, I watched David Cronenberg's son's film, Possessor. It's his debut directorial film, and I have not seen a David Cronenberg film, but from what I know about David Cronenberg films, this is very similar. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree on that, and I really enjoyed it. It was insane. I had a lot of fun watching it. Judas and the Black Messiah is another HBO Warner deal that I watched. It has Daniel Kaluuya and I'm blanking on all the names today. I don't know. Lakeith Stanfield. Didn't even got it. Really, it's a really good movie about Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party, and I highly recommend that you go and check it out, because as much as it is about Fred Hampton, it's also about the person who was put on the inside, played by Lakeith Stanfield, I forget his name, who helps the FBI find and basically, spoilers, kill Fred Hampton. Then I watched The World's End because I got a Cornetto Trilogy box set, and it's probably my least favorite of the Cornetto Trilogy, my least favorite Edgar Wright film at the moment, but it's still really fun because I love Simon Pegg and I love Nick Frost. That day, to close things out, I watched Saint Maud, which is a film I have been so excited for since like a year ago, like February of last year, when somebody who I work with had seen it, because we were thinking of buying it for our company to distribute, but then A24 got it, because A24 does that, and I'm fine with that because it's more of an A24 film than something we would release, and it is fantastic. I absolutely love Saint Maud. If you have Epics, you can watch it for free on there, not a sponsor, but that's where I watched it, and it's so good. Then I spent the entire next day watching the Crime Scene Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel docuseries on Netflix. Really great. Nothing that I hadn't really heard before, and a lot of the evidentiary stuff, but it was still really interesting to see some of the conspiracy theories that I did not know about. Then the next day I watched Minari, or Minari, I think that's how you say it in Korean. That's how Stephen Yeun has said it in all of his interviews, or I think in Colbert asked him how to correctly pronounce it in Korean. And oh my god, this film is beautiful. It is an A24 film at heart, and it's just this wonderful story of this beautiful family trying to make it and their struggles, and oh, I love it. I said "and" so many times. Then the next day I watched the next 3 Paranormal Activities because I have this set, and I had only seen the first one prior to buying this, but I love Paranormal Activity, the first one, and I think this was also the day that they announced Paranormal Activity 7 is in the works with Christopher Landon writing, and I love Christopher Landon's horror comedy films, so I thought might as well get more up to speed with the rest of the ones that he did. He directed, I believe, Paranormal Activity 4. Yes, he directed Paranormal Activity 4, and I believe he wrote 2, 3, 4. No. I think he wrote 2, 3, and 4, and then directed the marked ones. So this month I watched Paranormal Activity 3, 4, and 5 at Paranormal Activity the marked ones. I still have one more left before I watched all the Paranormal Activities, and then 7 whenever that comes out. And I love Paranormal Captivity. It's probably one of the only supernatural films that, like, series that I like. I'm not like really big on the Annabelle kind of whatever that all that universe is. And then another movie I watched for the podcast is Cinderella, the one from 1997 with Brandy and Whitney Houston and like an entire like insane cast that was made for the Wonderful World of Disney. I really love that movie so much. The podcast just like literally came out yesterday. Listen to it, we talk about it, and it's surprising some of the revelations that we come to from one of my co-hosts. And then I watched a couple new movies. Kajillionaire, which is, I think her name is Miranda July. I had that right, and I was second guessing myself. And I fell to this movie deep in my soul. I think I was processing some stuff while I was going through it. Processing some stuff while I was watching it. So it really stuck with me, and I really enjoyed it. So I highly recommend checking that out if you want to watch it or have some feelings. A lot of people I feel like weren't too fond of it. They didn't really like it. But I think I rented it on Prime for like $3, but I think that was like 2 weeks ago when I rented it. And I don't think it'll be up there for that anymore. After that, I watched the new Frances McDormand movie, Nomadland, which is written and directed by Chloe Zhao, who is going to be doing the Eternals, which I'm very excited for. And I loved Nomadland. I just, such a beautiful, kind of heartbreaking film at the same time, but it is very beautiful. It's kind of serene, and yeah, I think I'll be doing a review of it next week. To wrap up that day, I watched another 1001 video. I watched another 1001 film, Ikiru, which is about this Japanese man who finds out that he has colon cancer and how he kind of deals with the last like 6 months to a year that he has to live. And it was just so sweet and kind of like, it makes you think about your own life and the legacy that you leave behind, and it's beautiful. It's one of Akira Kurosawa's films, and I did not think, I've only seen Akira Kurosawa samurai films, so it was interesting for me to see something not samurai related. And then on the 22nd was the day of the massive LA-wide internet outage, where the internet was just gone for pretty much everybody in LA because Spectrum's shit. And I just went into the office that day as well and bought a stack of DVDs. I didn't buy them. I got them from work. And Twins was one of them. I had not seen it, and I love Arnold Schwarzenegger in comedy movies. I just love Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I love Danny DeVito. Oh my god, Danny DeVito, I love your work. Insert that in here.
Oh my god, Danny DeVito, I love your work!
To them together, it's hilarious. It's like, it's kind of the same way I felt about Get Shorty, where it's an 80s, 90s movie. When did this one come out? 88. But it's still funny and it's still serviceable, but there's just like some parts where I was just like completely checked out and was like scrolling through Instagram or whatever. And then a couple days ago, because of the most recent WandaVision episode, I watched Avengers Age of Ultron. It doesn't matter. I was very confused and I wanted to get some timeline stuff on that, but I also realized watching that episode that I hadn't seen Age of Ultron since it came out in theaters, I think. So I rewatched Age of Ultron, and I think it was better than I remember it being, but I also had like a big glass of margarita, so maybe not the best in like decision making. Then yesterday, because I'm recording this on the 28th, I watched Tom and Jerry, which is another HBO Max Warner Brother deal, and it's exactly what you think, with animation in live action, but it is not Roger Rabbit. I wished it was Roger Rabbit. It would have been really fun to be Roger Rabbit. And after that, I watched 2 more movies for the 1001 movie checklist. Ivan the Terrible Parts 1 and 2. I have 1 more to watch for this month, but I probably will not be watching it until next month. So it'll be with the rest of the movies that I watched for the 1001 next month. But Ivan the Terrible is part of a supposed to be 3-part biopic by Sergei Eisenstein, but he was kind of, stopped by not the government. The government asked him to make these movies, but he was stopped by the producers, and because he was using illegal filmmaking techniques, and the story itself I found kind of boring up until the last 45 minutes of part 2, but the filmmaking on both of them is great. The third one never was made because the second one wasn't even released until after Sergei Eisenstein had passed away. I do have one of Sergei's books because he is a filmmaking genius. But those are all the films that I have watched in the month of February. If you want to follow along, like I said, check out my Letterboxd, linked in the description, to follow along with my journey every month, and then you can see me wrap it up here. And let's see, what else? TV shows. I did watch a lot of TV shows, but a lot of them were I started rewatching How I Met Your Mother again because it's kind of a comfort TV show, and instead of watching any movies, some days I would just literally sit there and watch 3 seasons. I think I watched 3 seasons in 2 weeks of How I Met Your Mother because it's just a comfort show for me. What other shows did I watch? Honestly, I think that's the only other TV show that I watched because I always watch X-Men the Animated Series. I watch 2 episodes a week of that for a podcast I do on Patreon. So if you would like to see my thoughts on that, we're almost done with the animated series. I will be posting a poll for what series I should be watching next in May, I believe is when X-Men the Animated Series will be wrapping up. So if you want to get on board with that, check that out. I think that's everything. Is that everything? Oh, the 1001s. I was going to mention this earlier. If you want to see my 1001 reviews, my producer tier patrons pick out of a list of 4 to 5 movies, of which I will watch throughout that month. This month I didn't get to all of the movies on the list. I have 1 more left, like I said, but they get to pick one, and I will watch that and do a video on it that all patrons, no matter what you put, what tier you're on, $1 and up, everyone will get to see that 1001 review. So yeah, if you like my 1001 videos, that is the place to watch them. And let me know some of your favorite things that you watched this month in the comments down below. Let me know some TV shows that you think are good on streaming, especially any space documentaries or docuseries or true crime documentaries or docuseries or cult documentaries or docuseries, because that's my favorite things to watch. I can just throw those on and watch them. I'm really excited for Murder Amongst the Mormons or something. I think it comes out on Netflix tomorrow. Very, very excited for that. I will be watching that all day on Wednesday. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really, truly do appreciate you. Whoever you are, let me know here in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I love telling you these movies, TV shows, filmmaking, mystery, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye!